Hi, I'm Bill Fakui with MedShark Digital. Now, I get approached by doctors and administrators all the time, and much like your own practice, when potential patients contact you, the most common question is, how much does something cost, right? Now, chances are you're not the cheapest practice in the market, but that's not because you couldn't be. You can absolutely compete on price. But not only would you have to compromise a lot of things, you have to change your systems for delivery of care, and you have to lower potential patients' expectations, right? Well, marketing isn't a whole lot different. Budgeting needs to take into account a lot more things than just cost. So today, I want to share some insights on budgeting strategies that will help you plan more effectively and focus your marketing dollars where they need to go in order to improve your return on investment. So let's get started. First of all, we're probably all familiar with that age old adage that you've got to invest anywhere from 7 to 10% of your gross revenues back into your practice through marketing if you want it to continue to grow. Well, although that may apply to many practices or some practices, it's not for every practice. In fact, there are so many different variables, whether it's the stage of evolution of your practice, whether you're new, expanding, or transitioning, makes a huge difference in terms of your marketing budget. The market that you're in, the size, as well as probably more important, the competitive level of that marketplace will dictate what you need to do in order to make enough noise and build a brand. Your goals should be unique to your practice. The milestones that you establish need to be incorporated into your digital marketing strategy and budget. And also take into consideration your own comfort level with how aggressive and the kind of marketing that you want to do, because that will also dictate what kind of response you get from your marketing and advertising. And then lastly, definitely take into consideration your practice's capacity to handle more business. I see some practices that continually spend a lot of money on marketing, yet they don't have the capacity to actually accommodate them, and they waste a lot of money. Um, Other things you want to take into consideration when establishing your digital marketing budget is the strategies that you're employing. The difference between, advertising, which is going to be things like pay-per-clicks on Google Ads or Facebook, Instagram, they will require a larger portion of the budget if we're wanting to generate a high amount of response immediately. Whereas practices that have the ability to let investments percolate and build momentum over the course of time, like SEO, public relations, referral marketing, they can invest in more organic strategies that typically attract what I would call higher quality leads, but it takes more time. Lastly, you want to take into account your existing assets and where are you in your marketing? For instance, there is a big difference in say SEO in the necessary budget if you are on the top of page 2 versus the bottom of page 5. Do you have more established and engaged social media community, or are you committed to growing it? Do you already have lots of positive reviews and engaged reputation, people participating in the promotion of your practice? Or are you just starting to get them or have too many negative reviews to have to deal with? Even media exposure, and if you've done anything in magazine, TV, radio, any kind of media advertising will help build your brand awareness, which will impact your digital marketing results and the budgets that you need. Okay. So some of the things that I would want you to kind of keep in mind, regardless of where you are in these different, areas, because there are three keys that I would say I want you to incorporate into your budgeting that apply regardless of where you're at. Number one is you need to make sure that the strategies and budgets that you establish are based on your specific goals, not what you see from, what other competitors are doing or what you hear from other colleagues. These goals need to be, set, and your budgets need to reflect them. And your budgets need to be based on your expectations. And this is more personal. Um, for instance, if your expectations is to generate results quickly, that's absolutely fine. You just need to make sure you have the budget and the strategies to generate direct response leads. And if you don't have enough budget, then your expectations needs to be tapered down a little bit. Lastly, you need to incorporate a true belief and passion into your strategy. Without it, you will never develop the commitment necessary to achieve the results you want. Let me repeat that. Without it, you will never develop the commitment necessary to achieve the results you want. Whether short or long-term strategies, all strategies require, a commitment of time and money to reach those goals. So let's discuss some costs you need to, consider when establishing those effective budgets. Some of the areas that I'm going to cover are going to be website design. Websites need to be continually updated, and in many cases, uh, it's not unusual to see a practice redo their website every 2 or 3 years. It's much more frequently today than it was before. And the features will make a big difference in terms of what you currently have and the assets that you currently have, as well as are you going to be paying for this all up front, in terms of when that site goes live, it's got to be paid off, or are you incorporating it into a plan where you're paying monthly over the course of time, and that website will be, covered, over the next 12 months or 18 months, whatever it may be. And lastly, it's the ownership. There are strategies and services that provide you with websites at low cost, but you're only leasing them. So make sure that you're aware of what it is that you're buying or if you're leasing. But if you're setting up aside a budget, what you need to be doing if you are in a relatively competitive marketplace, plan on budgeting anywhere from $5,000 to $15,000 for a new custom website. Okay. And that could include content, could include custom photography, depends on all of the things that you want to put into it. The other thing you need to budget for would be your organic, your PR, your SEO, your Google My Business, showing up in those 3-pack map listings. These are all based on your competitive level of the marketplace. And if you're targeting specific niche services, or if there's, targets within the geographic marketplace that you're trying to, cover. The good news with even organic like Google is it's no longer just vanity-based keyword phrases that get you results. Because Google can, identify where searchers are located in the marketplace, it serves up unique results if you're on one end of the marketplace of a large metropolitan city as opposed to one on the other side of town. Okay. You can target niche locations and suburbs through organic listings. As far as budgets, if you are in a smaller marketplace, rural market, you can budget anywhere from $500 to $1,000. But if you are in a larger metropolitan city or a medium-sized marketplace, and you're either targeting some of those vanity keyword phrases, or if you're in a larger market targeting some of these, niche popular, for example, I'll use an example like Beverly Hills. It's part of the Los Angeles marketplace, but let's face it, Beverly Hills is a unique market in and of itself. So, depending on the locations that you're targeting, uh, check your own market and see if there are pockets that you want to be the dominant player in, especially locally. But market wide, in those large to medium-sized markets, you can budget anywhere from 2 to 4 or $5,000 to $8,000 for some of the larger markets. If you are in one of the top 5 markets, you have really got to spend some decent money if you're wanting to be a major player market wide, and that would be anywhere from 10,000, up to 12 or 14,000, and that's monthly. Paid ads. If you're going to be needing more direct response, more immediate exposure, fill in the gaps where your organic is missing. That's where I think those types of things make sense, is done in tandem with your organic campaigns. You can also do niche campaigns. For example, I had a client that was doing advertising but never considered using Yelp. But after I looked at what he was doing on Yelp, he had by far more Yelp reviews and they were all stellar. He had an unfair advantage when he advertised on Yelp because he had more and better reviews than everybody else. In his case, we started running ads on Yelp and it really worked out really well for him, and he didn't have to spend nearly as much money as he did on some of the other platforms like Google Ads. Remarketing, retargeting, leveraging those types of technologies, as well as seasonality. Make sure that your budgets reflect the seasonalities of the opportunities. And I don't just mean spending more. There are times when you spend less. If it's we're coming around, Thanksgiving, Christmas, we probably don't want to advertise plastic surgery or surgical services during retail times. So maybe back off on some of that, or maybe do some of the non-surgical or med spa types of advertising, just adjust it accordingly. But paid ads, I would say in most cases, if you're not spending anywhere from $1,000 to $2,000, you're probably not making enough noise in the marketplace for advertising to generate enough of a response. In medium-sized marketplace, plan on anywhere from $3,000 to $5,000, and in those large metropolitan markets, definitely you got to be in that six, seven, eight, $10,000 range. Social media. Social media is one of those areas where I encourage you not to invest, in just fully mercenary services. Your practice definitely needs to be participating and needs to be an intricate part of your social media campaign. But if you are budgeting for support and having other agencies help you with engagement, with posting, um, I think you can probably budget anywhere from $500 to $1,000 on the front end if you're doing most of the heavy lifting. And I would say if they're doing more of it, then definitely look at doing anywhere from $2,000 to $4,000 a month on your social media if they are doing a lot of it. One of the areas that I also mentioned, you'll see on here, is don't forget Google My Business. Uh, Google My Business has become an important part of not just Google, but it should be part of your social media strategy. If you think of this, Google was once Google Plus. They had a social media platform called Google Plus that it shut down. Um, but that doesn't mean Google doesn't see value in social engagement and building up a local community. Google My Business is pretty much Google's now, it's their form of social media. So definitely invest in those types of things. Um, Referral marketing. This is one area that most practices don't budget for. And if they do, they don't budget enough. I encourage practices to spend more focus, time, resources on building up referral and loyalty programs and internal marketing. And this would be anything from, investing in platforms to help, manage, create points and monitor those points, text message and email patients their, reminders of the points that they have, or how to redeem certain things, and then making sure that you're not only just promoting, but it's also about offering good information and content marketing. So all of that is all built around your internals. And I would say in most cases, I would say you got to be investing at least about $2,000. If you're not, chances are you're not doing enough to help stimulate what I think for most practices, they'll tell me that 50 to 60% of their business is built off of referrals from existing patients, and yet they are not investing the resources to help build it. So definitely look into that and make sure you budget that accordingly. And lastly, this is an area that I know most practices haven't thought about, but part of your marketing needs to be focused on conversion marketing digitally. And what I'm referring to here are services like live chat and text messaging services versus, say, having your staff manage them. There are platforms where your staff can do it, but I do find that staff are usually too busy on a daily basis to effectively manage chat. And services are really based on generating leads through these technologies. And the goal of that is ultimately to tee up calls and conversations with your patient care coordinators and with your staff. Um, and this is especially important for two areas. Number one, it is off hours, weekends, when people can't pick up the phone and call you or know that you're closed. Or two, we're targeting the millennial generation, this generation that grew up with digital communication, smartphones, and that audience, in many cases, even if they visit your website during their lunch hour, know that they're open, know that your office is open, they still prefer chatting or engaging with you through these types of communication rather than picking up the phone and calling. So look into those particular things. There are some of these services that charge either a flat rate or some of them charge on a cost per verified lead. Look into what makes the most sense for your practice, but I would say budget anywhere from, I would say for most practices in decent sized markets, plan on about $500 a month. In more competitive marketplaces where you are investing in pay-per-click advertising, those types of things, those landing pages need live chat. Plan on budgeting, adding to your advertising budget of about $1,000 or more just on improving the conversions, because it's no longer just about the click. It's about what are we doing to convert them into leads. So these were just some suggestions and some ideas on how to budget for your, digital marketing. And since we're midpoint of 2021, uh, now is a good time to reassess your budgeting and your results. I hope you find this information helpful in confirming your budgeting strategy or helping make some course corrections. Let me know if I can help in any way, and have a successful, second half of 2021. Take care, everyone.